Welcome to Otherworldly, and welcome to Mercury retrograde, which actually seems to be doing something this time.
And Is it really? Okay.
Welcome to everybody who made it. Tonight, we're talking to Amy Blackthorn, who I just went to a workshop down at Sacred Space, and I was blown away, and went home and immediately bought 4 of her books, and then rebought 2 of them on Kindle because I was that impatient. And just she's great. And what would you like me to talk about? Yes, I'll come on your show. How about protection magic? And so because you had just done a bunch of the healing stuff, which was incredible, and I'm kind of hoping we can get you back for the conference to talk about that. But so let's I should probably just tell people, anybody who's here has read about it. Our guest is, I did like the term arcane horticulturist, but because that's very cool. Anyway, there's just so much to do with protection magic, and we all need it. One of the things I was wondering, not having gotten through that book all the way, do you have anything against protection against gossip?
Are you asking if I have a problem with it or what I can do about it?
Yes. Do you have something you can suggest for us to do if we have a problem with it?
One of my favorite things is slippery elm. Slippery elm keeps your name out of a gossip's mouth.
Oh, cool.
You can have them over for tea if they're friends of yours. If they're not friendly, feel free to. What I would do is I would take a small piece of paper, create an envelope out of it, and I'd stuff it full of slippery elm so that there's no room for your name in their mouth, and seal the envelope shut and put it somewhere safe.
Ah, that was just one that I had never heard of protecting anybody against before, and I was like, wow, that would do that. Yeah. Is there anything that can protect us against Mercury retrograde?
Yes, absolutely. Lemongrass is my favorite thing because it's mercurial in itself, and so it helps reverse those effects. So I use an anointing oil made with it. I usually take 1 drop of lemongrass essential oil, and I'll dilute it into a 10 milliliter bottle of carrier oil of your choice. And I actually use a 10 milliliter roll-on. That way it's a magical pen, so you can anoint your materials, yourself, your candles, your petitions.
Ooh. I'd see. Griffin, did you have a question?
I did, actually, very specifically to the slippery elm, because you say slippery elm, the first thing I think about is the Thayer slippery elm products. And if you can't lay your hands on the actual herb, do products made with it count?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not only that, if you wanted the energy of slippery elm, but say you were allergic to it, you could actually you could print out a picture of the slippery elm bark and write their name across it and fold it up that way.
Oh, okay. So there are many ways to invoke that energy then.
Absolutely. The spirit of slippery elm endures whether or not you have access to the actual plant material or not.
Oh, that's grand. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That is so magical.
It's one of the things I'm writing the next book, of course. There's always a next book. And I'm talking about creating and facilitating the relationships between plant spirits when you have no access to it. Something that allows you to work with plants that you're allergic to, work with plants that maybe you have it's counterproductive for medications that you're taking. Say you are on warfarin and you love grapefruit, you can still work with the energy of grapefruit without having the interaction with your medication.
Ah, that is so cool. Which we probably ought to, having gotten through my immediate curiosity bits. We probably ought to back up and talk about some more traditional what are the basics that you do for warding and clearing and all of that? What do you think? What's the 101? What do you teach the kindergartners for?
The first levels are make sure you have somewhere safe to be. So your home, I want to make my home safe and protected the first, because it needs somewhere to retreat to. You need to have somewhere where you can let your shields down, where you can be yourself. You can put on your comfy clothes and be you. You don't have to be on guard all the time. So making your home the safest it can be is always my first step. So that requires physical and magical protection. And that was one of the things that was really important to talk about in Blackthorne's protection magic. Was I started with mind, then we went to body, and then we went to spirit, and there was 3 chapters in each. So we made our minds safe because we're getting our physical space as safe as it can be, including things like looking at the doors, the locks on your front door. 72% of all no home construction uses quickset locks. So it's the first one everybody learns to pick because 72% of the houses have them. So one of the first things you can do as a frontline safety issue is replace the locks if you have quickset, because their permissions are a little looser, they're a little easier to pick. Something like a Slage has tighter permissions, and they know they're being picked, so they work a little harder to keep that from happening.
Good. I have notes, but I haven't. Anybody else jump in while I am digging for my notes? Other questions?
Well, I'm going to follow up. Oh,
I actually have a question.
Wonderful.
I was just in the emergency room first half of last week, was it?
you went to the
I went
ED
in
on
for
Monday.
I went in for elevated heart rate, and we're having trouble getting my heart rate down again. We're trying to avoid winding up with a pacemaker.
Right.
Yeah. A moment ago, I noticed that my heart rate was down in the high 90s for the first time in days.
Wonderful.
But it's gone back up again. What can you recommend for regulating heart rate?
Are you talking magically, or are you asking me to prescribe something? Because those are 2 different things.
I'm asking magically.
Linden is
Something that
wonderful.
What's that?
Linden.
Linden.
Linden is also called the lime tree. The wood itself is sold in craft shops and wood stores as balsa wood, as basswood for carving.
Oh, for God's sake, I have a basket full of it.
Right. It's really lovely. It's got a featureless face. You can
I had no idea that those were the same.
Yep.
Okay.
You can take, if you have a basket full of it, you can take a nice piece and create a sigil for your heart's protection and carve it into the basswood itself, and have a magical talisman you can keep on you. Linden is really lovely. It brings the heart rate down. It keeps your energetic body level. It helps process emotional grief that is held in the body. So it's a really lovely plant to work with. There's a whole section on it in Blackthorne's Botanical Wellness.
Okay.
There's a whole section on magic with linden.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Anything that will help support the medical attempts that are being made is a wonderful idea. Great. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's a really lovely plant to work with. It's actually where we get the all-natural black cherry flavoring. It's actually a glycerite of linden flowers. It tastes like black cherry.
Well, that's good to know, because I know that in a response at the medical level, one of her cardiac medicines, the dose was increased by a factor of 6 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
She used to take half a tablet a day. Now she takes 3 a day. So anything we can do in magic. Now, I'm curious, this business of capturing the essence of something without necessarily having it in your hand. How far does that principle extend? Can you largely do it with just about anything?
Absolutely. We're talking about the magic of contagion. So by looking at a picture of linden, you can fold it up and carry it and put it in your pocket. You still have the magical essence of linden because you captured its image. If I'm looking at increasing the potency of a legal document, I can look at the date, time, and place of birth where the received stamp is from the courts for the date, time, and place of birth as the energy of that particular document.
Mm.
That it can extend as far as your imagination will let you.
Well, that's another clever. And
That-
these are neat hooks because the date of birth of a document. And there are so damn many pieces of paper in our lives that are awfully important. And
Right.
actually being able to pin down such a concept.
Yeah, that one woke me up out of a dead sleep at 2:00 in the morning one day and saying, "Oh my God, this is amazing! I need to write this down."
Well, thank you, Amy.
Sure.
Sure.
Screw with your lawyer's mind too.
Yeah.
That's always fun.
Yeah, I was wondering, we've got, I mean, yeah, there's piles of rocks that you can use for various magical purposes, but there's herbs and rocks, and those are all wonderful. But if you're on your way to the emergency room, and what are your favorite no props protections?
My very first line, the first thing that I teach all my students is an egg shield. You don't need any materials, you don't need any time, you don't need anything but you and the minutes you've got. Creating that egg gives you a nice clean basis to start with. But the neat thing is, once you have the idea, once you have gotten proficient in creating that etheric egg around your body, it is a nice blank canvas. I can decorate it with bricks. I can put barbed wire around my egg. I can put a leather jacket on my egg for abrasions. You can draw sigils on the front of your egg, on the back of your egg, on the top of your egg. The neat thing is it lends itself to infinite combinations. So say someone knows that you use an etheric egg to protect yourself. You get a fighting with your best friend, and they know, okay, I'm running around with an egg. They have no idea the number of combinations and permutations of the levels of protection you can add to a simple egg. It's no longer just an egg. It's no longer just anything. It's the basis for an entire cadre of magical techniques. So it's harder to get around the security system, so to speak.
It was the first one that I learned, and now do you have? You say there's variations that you have. Yes, in your do you have mental shields, physical shields, emotional shields?
Absolutely, and it works both ways, as an attack and as a defense. Once you have your shields in place, say for example, you're walking home late at night and you feel a little uneasy, you feel like somebody might be looking at you or following you. One of the projections you can do, you can actually project throughout your egg, and say you could project the sound of a barking dog to scare off somebody who might be following you. Those psychic projections are just as important as the projection of the egg itself. If you're visiting someone in the hospital and they're nervous and they're anxious and they're frightened, you can project the sound of ocean waves to help soothe their agitated feelings.
Yeah, trying to help someone who is in the middle of a you don't want to jump in and be doing stuff, but if somebody's having a panic attack, you really want to help.
Exactly.
So just energetic push, calming, that would be good. But okay, other than that, as I go going back, there's the 101. What do you sprinkle across your doorstep?
That would be telling.
That would be telling. Okay, because I saw somebody had lined up flowers across their doorstep for May Day to bless the house.
Oh, that's a lovely idea. There's
That is
also you can hang iron scissors over the doorway, so any negative hairy materials that come into your house are neutralized. You can it's very common for new knife smiths or new metalsmiths to take railroad spikes and turn them into knives. You can keep one of those over your threshold to make sure that no ill will crosses your threshold. Brick dust is very common. Eggshells, diatomaceous earth, because it has that heavy calcium, will pull out or pull away anything negative attached to people who are visiting your home.
Mm-hmm.
Salt is very common.
And you should have it around for your garden anyway.
Absolutely.
So.
You want to keep the bugs out.
But let me think of other things that we I had so many notes. Somebody asked something. I'm going to go look in my purse for my notes. Starwolf, say something. Starwolf is our usual crystal master.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. What? So far, you've done everything I would do, except I'm not usually do the herbs because of my wife's allergies. So finding out basswood is lindenwood it's already made this worth attending.
Wonderful.
Well, I use it to make knife grips.
Oh,
Does it
beautiful.
even
Of
work?
course, the wood
Does
is
it-
great for
Yeah,
carving,
it's
for staining.
For routering chambers out in the sides in the grip panel, so I can put crystals and things inside.
Absolutely.
That's what the Dremel's for.
Yeah, I've my father taught me woodworking starting at a very young age, so I absolutely love being able to work with it. I get the same vibes out of holly because it's so featureless and easy to work with. It's just a joy because it grows so slowly.
Yeah, we have several holly trees we planted when we moved in, as well as an oak tree, an ash tree, and now we have to replace our thorn because pyrocanthus died.
Oh yeah, that'll happen.
I keep looking for blackthorn, but finding seeds or cuttings here in the United States, it's impossible.
Oh yeah, it's very, very difficult. I have friends who have a little stand of blackthorn now because they were able to import some very small cuttings and plant a blackthorn hedge in their property.
Yeah, that's what I wanted, but that's not happening. Hawthorn I can get, but they grow a little big for our quarter of an acre.
Oh yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Amy, thought here, we talked about protections and, talking about protections like people following you down the street and all of that, protecting your house. A specific protection that is of concern to me,
I guess.
given my age and my extensive collection of medical conditions, is protection from decay and illness for the self.
Absolutely, it's really important.
What would you do for that? And as I say, specifically, I'm 73 now, and I'm doing a lot better than a lot of guys who would have been 73 if they were still alive. But it's always a battle. I always feel like there are these forces working against me. And it would be nice if I could deflect them or reverse the polarity on them or something.
One of my favorite plants to work with in that capacity would be mint, or specifically peppermint.
Really?
It's not just that it's protective plant, it's also an anti-inflammatory, it's also very cooling. So you could actually deflect the attention of anyone who wanted to cause an issue with your wellness, as well as protecting you with the camphoraceousness, the sharpness of that mint. Cuts
Mhm.
away anything before it can even get to you. So
Oh
That
gosh,
explains it.
how much peppermint tea do we have sitting in the boxes there?
Yeah, we have lots because I also have found herbs for things like kidney and liver disorders and
Mhm.
all of that. Dandelion
But peppermint,
root. But I love peppermint. And
Yeah.
that-
magically
okay.
it sharpens the mind, it increases your availability to perceive.
and yeah, there's this cleansing effect.
okay, you and me, tea daily.
Okay.
But you must be aware that if you're doing anything homeopathic, the peppermint might negate it, which
Oh,
can
really?
We have to
Yeah.
define homeopathic because homeopathic remedies don't contain any actual material, it's all energetic.
I know it's energetic, but for some reason, coffee and mint seem to neutralize many of
well
the
as
homeopathic
oddly enough,
remedies.
camphor.
I swelled up after getting a white-faced hornet sting, and my leg turned into a tree trunk. It was rather the skin was tight. It was very annoying. So I took the Apis, and it all went back down. It was looking like a leg, and I said, I think I will relax with a cup of peppermint tea, and it just swelled right back up again. It's like, darn, I knew better than that.
Mm.
It doesn't work on against all of them and in all cases, but it is something to be aware of if you are using the homeopathic test.
We don't particularly use much in the way of homeopathics. It's an occasional thing.
Yeah.
So probably a daily cup of peppermint tea is not going to hurt us too much.
Yeah.
No.
In your
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the linden more because that's tilia, right?
Yeah.
And it's I've got it from one company and it was like golden, looked like leaves with little tiny flowers in it.
Mhm.
Another company and it was little red buds that looked like they were more of a seed head. And I was like, what? Is there a difference between Mexican tilia and a different and linden?
There's a lot of different species that come under the tilia umbrella. So it can be from different, slightly different species. They all have the same really beneficial benefits to themselves. You don't have to worry about the materials so much as it's all under the tilia umbrella. So you have leaves and flowers. They're cut and sifted together to make sure that you get enough of everything. So the flowers are so big and blousy and have so much volatile oil in it. Like I always make sure to tell people to put a lid on it when they're brewing because so much of that beautiful flavor will escape if you're brewing it without that lid because there's so much volatile oil there. So they're usually combining different species anyway.
Mm.
Yeah, it was just that I was so surprised when two companies sent me things that looked so different. But just the things that look more like leaves, I don't brew for quite as long, and the things that look like they're more seed heads, I'm gonna steep them longer.
Luckily, it's not going to get bitter or peter out on you.
Here's a question for you. What about air travel?
I love kyanite for all forms of travel. I start with blue kyanite. Green kyanite is a little easier to get, but blue kyanite I really love for the protection of self. I would usually, if it was a domestic travel, I would use the chariot. If it was international travel, I'd use the world. I just print out a really small picture of it and put it in a charm bag with some peppermint or nettle. Nettle is really lovely for protection. A picture of either the chariot or the world, some kyanite, and charge it and keep it in my pocket. Of course, you have to pull it out of your pocket when if it's once it goes through the TSA. Just nobody usually gives me a hard time about it, but it makes me feel a lot better once I can reach in my pocket and touch that magic and know that there's someone said now there's a good use for those miniature tarot decks. It's so handy to have those, especially when you can find them. You're running through a yard sale and you find them for a quarter. I always grab tarot decks that I find. I can utilize the whole card. I can utilize parts of the card or the whole deck, or I can print something from Google image search.
Let's talk a little bit more about the tarot spells because those are so cool.
I love it so much. I always start with the Fool because not only is it the first card in the major arcana, but it's protection from injury. It's a great personal protection card for your health, your well-being, and your body as a whole. You see that in the traditional tarot, the Fool is getting ready to walk off the edge of a cliff, it looks like, and he is not a care in the world. Legs akimbo, dog is trying to warn him. He's got his blinders on. So that innocence is a protection in and of itself. So I always like the Fool as a protection from injury. There's always the Magician is great for reversing hexes. If you're concerned that someone has cast something your way, I really love working with the Magician. It's such a really fantastic card for reminding yourself you have all the tools. You have everything you need right at your fingertips to remind you that their hexes have no power here and they're lousy magicians anyway. So they're perfect for sending back any of those mysterious ailments that may come your way. There's an entire chapter. Actually, I'm going to grab a copy of Protection Magic so you can hear what I'm talking about. The spirit of it was such a really beautiful material because I've worked with tarot for seems like ever. So you can take, I always like the 3
Mhm.
card approach. You can have 1 card for a nice meditation focus. Like if I was concerned about an injury, I might grab the Fool. But if I'm worried about someone hexing me to have an injury, I might grab the Fool, the Magician, and the High Priestess to warn me and help my intuition in the subject. So I would leave the Magician and the High Priestess as the base, supporting the Fool.
Hmm.
I always look at it as a magical application or a addition spell. So 1 + 1 = 2. The Magician and the High Priestess supporting is a great triangle, or I can take the Fool over to the side. The Magician plus the High Priestess equals safety from injury with the Fool.
Hmm.
So that's 3 cards in a line. So the 2 outside cards can protect the center card. If you're not looking at from the addition and subtraction standpoint, think of them like bodyguards. Card 1, card 2, and what they're protecting goes in the middle. So you can have the Magician and the Hierophant protecting the High Priestess as your main focus. The major arcana spells in Magic, you can use the High Priestess for a lot of different things, but it's coming together in protection magic. It's a great early warning system to keep you apprised of anything that's going on in your specific area. Think of it like the neighborhood watch. She's letting you know what's going on, who's going where, and what you can find lurking in the shadows. For example, right before we came into the context, I use Ring. They have a little feature, a little part of their app that's called the neighborhood. Whether or not you have Ring or whether or not you use Ring, it's a little neighborhood watch where it tells you, hey, this thing is going on. There's 20 police at the liquor store down the street. Maybe you should be aware. So the High Priestess is that early warning system that allows you to keep an eye on what's going on. It makes a great piece to integrate into your warding system for the house, because it will let you know if there's any attempt to harm anyone inside the house, whether or not they're home, is a great point of fact. So what I will do is I will take, I'll print out a High Priestess card from Google image search, and I'll actually glue it to the back of a line drawing of the exterior of the house, like the floor plan from the deed even. I actually use those quite a lot. I took it into a mirror box, and it was actually a really lovely jewelry box from a jewelry store, that a home import store like Pier 1 that went out of business. And so I was able to fill it with the actual floor plan from the deed. I made a reduced copy and filled it with protective herbs and things that represented me and the house itself. It's nice. You can keep it working. I renew it maybe once a year. It's got a nice slow burn to it. I'll feed it frankincense throughout the year to keep that magic going. But the exterior of the box is completely mirrored, so I can keep it reflecting anything that's nasty headed my way. In protection of your loving relationships, I use the Empress. The Magician or the Emperor, I'll actually utilize that for protection, for making sure I protect my professional interests. All that grounding and that stability is building a nice foundation for the materials I'm working with. I can talk about this all day.
Yeah, that's great. I just got myself some little molds with the tarot card images on them.
Ooh.
And so to put fondant in them and put them on your food. So
that sounds amazing.
I do a lot of food magic. So that's just like, I'm just like, how can I use these for tarot magic? Because you can then ingest them. What do you do when people get freaked out about what are the positive things you can do with the devil, death, the tower?
It's lovely. There's a really lovely material. What was it? It was a panel at PantheaCon in 2019 on the scary tarot cards. Mm-hmm. And we talked about some of the really beneficial stuff that these can work with. I love the devil as a way to remind us that we are stronger than our bad habits. You can take the card itself and take all your wishes, hopes, and dreams to come true. You can put the time and energy you need into making sure that those are true and correct and lovely for you. Or you can wash your hands of the whole system if you're having something that you feel powerless against. The devil card is a great ally for something like that. Place the devil card underneath a candle holder and carve the name of the thing that you feel helpless against. Burn the candle usually on a Saturday for those endings.
Ooh, I want to do a little bit more on the scary cards. Then let's get on to the timing, because that's something that often doesn't get covered. Okay, death. What do you do with death?
Death is something we're overcoming every day. So looking at death is actually the most powerful ally for
Cousin.
magical pruning. I'd like to say that it's not a hex, it's landscaping. We're pruning away the dead limbs of the things that no longer serve us. So the death card is a wonderful ally for pruning away those things that no longer serve. We're giving them their timely end. The roots are still there, but the branch that is headed off into the sunset has died. So we're pruning it back to give life to the rest of the organism.
So we can bloom better.
Exactly. So you can write that which no longer serves me on the face of whatever death image is your favorite from whatever card deck is your favorite. On a Saturday under the dark moon, if you can, for endings, burn a black candle. I like to use bay essential oil diluted, or laurel, for communicating release. Place it place the card underneath the candle, light it on a Saturday, and let it burn down completely.
How about the tower?
Those are endings that while death is the endings you control, this is we're controlling that descent. So the shock factor inherent in the tarot card is it can disrupt any nasty spells that are added your way. So when one says, she's a little snotty, I want to make sure that I take her down a peg or two. The tower card is great for ending anything that's a direct threat to you, your family. So if you have a small box, use it. Those local craft stores have those small boxes. They're chipboard boxes or they're cardboard. I like the wooden boxes with the shiny brass hinges. I'll use the paperboard that they absorb the paint really well. So I like the tower card from the Da Vinci Tarot. Grab one of those photos, one of the more images of this tarot, and start covering the box with the collected images you have of the different tower tarot cards. I can speak. So cover in all four sides and bring down any any towers that are aimed against you. If you know there's a specific person who is working against you, you can actually place their name, time, date of birth, anything you know about them as a person. This is where the images from Facebook can become really handy. You can print out their name or their face and say, okay, this person cannot prosper against me. We're not going to let them do anything nasty to me.
So you could take your scanner or whatever and take 4 or 5 of the different decks and then take the same cards from them and make yourself a kind of a wrapping paper.
Yes, absolutely. Little Mod Podge and a little bit of time, and you can have a perfectly wrapped box that is something that really speaks to you. And
I like the printout idea. I don't want to be chopping up my tarot decks.
Oh God, no, not. Those are precious. We don't want to do that. No, I love Google image search. You can print out 100 different tower versions on one piece of paper and just wrap it around this box.
Griffin had a question again.
Yeah, I want to loop back to a possible alternate use for the death card. I once said something that impressed Chipicon, and it impressed me that I impressed her, which is that our unwillingness or inability to face our own mortality is the greatest source of spiritual disease in our lives these days. And I wonder if you can use a death card as kind of centering point to say, well, I'm going to die. I just want to be orderly about it and live a good life while I'm going. Now, would that work?
Absolutely, 1,000%. One of the things that we spend so much time doing, that's one of the reasons that things like drugs and alcohol and all sorts of recreational vices exist, is because we're so terrified to look the idea of our immortality in the face. So centering that idea of controlling how we face that is so important. Absolutely, 1,000%.
So if there aren't any other ones, I want to talk, you were saying, okay, do this on a Saturday, do this on a Friday. What do we, give us the skinny on that one.
So each of the days of the week is ruled by a different planet. We have the sun for Sunday, the moon for Monday, Tyr or Mars for Tuesday. Wednesday is our friend Mercury, who is currently in retrograde for communication. Thursday is the ruling strength of Jupiter. So if you have a small business, it's a great time to appeal to Jupiter for a little bit of a boost for your business. Friday would be Freya and Venus. Saturday would be Saturn or Hades for that lovely Plutonian spirit of death and bringing things to an end. That's also where karma and rebirth both live, and they're both their applications for that magical. So you can take these and apply them to planetary magic. To we have planetary squares we can look at. We have all sorts of individual energies that can align and focus the energy that we're working with for both that planet and those magical allies. It just so happens that those days of the week are a little bit more geared to what we're doing, so it makes it a little easier. We're working with the tide rather than against it. So we also have the moon phases that work alongside there, make a great ally to give that energy a little nudge. From the rebirth and creating new things at the new moon, the height of the full moon brings the marriage of the god and goddess together, so you can have the union of both. It's a great time for big, powerful workings. If we're working with the third quarter moon, it's pushing things away. So we're banishing anything that's against the allies of our protection magic. So we're banishing scammers, or we're banishing people who are looking to increase our debt. And then we have the dark moon. So 3 days before that new moon, when it's absolutely the darkest it's going to be all month long, is a great time for banishing stalkers or protecting yourself from anything that really has a negative view towards you. If you're concerned about phishing scams, you can print out a suspicious email, print it out and put it under a nice black candle and burn it on a Saturday.
Yeah, let's see what other, I mean, there's just so much. Just the things that you have, this is me, around the kitchen.
Ooh, yes.
Everybody has, you don't have to go down to the occult shop and buy the cool stuff. But
one of my favorite things to talk about, I'll go alphabetically because I'm a Virgo and we like it that way. So grabbing your bay leaves. Bay leaves are great for communication. If you want to hear from a friend, if you want to protect the communication that the two of you have had recently, put both of your names, write both of your names on a bay leaf and burn it to make sure that you've cleared the air and everything is beneficial. It used to be when we had home phones, I would tell people to tuck a bay leaf underneath their home phone with their friend's name on. If say you've had a fight and you'd like to hear from them. Now you can just tuck it inside your phone case and it makes it a lot easier. No one's picking up your phone going, well, what is this green stuff? You just tuck it in there nice and discreet. Celery salt. So you have the celery, which is the sexuality and sexual health, purification, and the salt itself, which is purification by itself. So you're actually getting health, sexual health, and purification of both through your friend celery salt. Caraway. Caraway is a seed that's fantastic for grounding your protection in the moment. It's very mercurial, so it's taking the airiness of the idea of protection and grounding it in reality. The neat thing about protection is that it's not just one thing. It can be protective, it can be receptive, or it can attack. So something like the solar energy of protection, it will burn away anything that's nasty trying to come your way. Whereas something like caraway can protect your home and yourself, nurturing from a cooler mercurial way. So dill is great for protecting love and lust. You want to protect your romantic relationships, reach for dill. Oh, savory is great for communication and messenger deities. See, when we're looking at the astrological associations for the plants, you're looking at the physical characteristics of that plant. If it gets a big blousy seed head on it, like dill, it's going to be mercurial. If it has softer shaped leaves, very, very demure, it might be ruled by Venus. For example, all the stone fruits are ruled by Venus because they're part of the rose family. So blackthorn, apple, pear, apricot, all of the stone fruits, they're actually the largest family, as far as botanical families go, of crops that are native to the US. Almost the largest in the world because the number of materials. So strawberries, cherries, apricots, all of these things are really beneficial crops, and they're absolutely all of them are ruled by Venus. So if you are looking to protect your loving relationships, I might share a bowl of cherries with a loved one. So
Okay, some of us were old enough to remember the Witches of Eastwick. Huge bowl of cherries.
Oregano is great for protecting your happiness and your joy. Depending on where you are in the country, purple dead nettle should be in bloom or just going out of blooming season. If you're north of the mid-Atlantic, this is definitely, it's starting to come into season for you. If it's south, you're just likely past. That's great for joy. If you have mustard seed in your spice cabinet, it's great for purification. If you have a concern that anyone's cast a hex at you, mustard seed is great for that protection. You want it to burn away anything nasty coming your way. Thyme is great for courage. So if you need to get something done and you're still feeling a little tight in the chest about it, protect your courage by working with thyme. You can actually burn it over incense charcoal. It has a nice sweet herby smell to it. You can cleanse your home with the smoke of thyme to really remind yourself that you're in charge here, that courage might be what's needed, but this is where you find it. This is where it lives. Marjoram is also great for peace, happiness, and joy because it's so closely related to oregano. Basil is sacred to Aphrodite, so it's great for any magic involving protecting your loved ones. Where do I have... There's a story in the Decameron about two young lovers who meet actually working for the young lady's father. You know, this young gentleman is working for her dad. And so they fall in love and they decide in secret they're going to marry. Her brothers find out that they've been canoodling, and they take him out and they kill him. Just dead. That night, completely unbeknownst to her, she goes to bed, and the ghost of her lover appears to her in her bedroom and says, "Your brothers killed me because they didn't want us together. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there for you. I love you." And so she doesn't believe the spirit, and she says, "You know what? I need to see for myself." The spirit tells her where his body was buried. It's under a tree in the woods over here. Terrified that this is correct, she flees the house with nothing but her little satchel, her little waist satchel, jumps on the back of a horse, runs out to where he says that he's buried, digs under this tree and finds his body. And she's so overwrought, she decides, well, I can't like dig up this whole body and bring him back for a proper burial. So she cuts off his head and carries it back to her house. And she buries it in a pot in her room where her brothers can't find it, and pots up a basil on top of it. And it said that she cried so unceasingly for her lost love that she watered the basil with her tears. And so basil is associated with grief and lost love and protecting those both. It's sacred to Aphrodite, so it's associated with that love, but it's protecting the love between people. So if you have a loving relationship, you need that security reach for basil, especially fresh basil. It's blousy enough and warm enough that it'll actually wilt in your hand if you hold it for a minute or two. You can actually see the fluids through it pulsing, and it'll wilt right in your hand. Mint is great for thought and sharpens the mind. Rosemary is great for memory, friendship, and fidelity. If you have any concerns there, you can burn some rosemary over some charcoal, or you can put some in the bottom of a candle holder on a Friday and burn a pink or a red candle. Coriander is cilantro seed. It's burned in love rituals. So if you want to protect your love, again, reach for something in the coriander family. If you're uncertain what it is, don't burn it. Period. End. We don't want to poison anyone. But research all your materials before you use them. Make sure they're not a medical intervention that you want to make sure you're not being a problem with.
Yeah.
What about sage?
Garden sage is great for purification and protection. It's clearing the air. It's making sure that any materials or any energies that come into your property are quickly banished if they're negative. Sage is a good judge of character because of its associations. So I like one of the things that I do with my plant allies that live on the property is I give them a job. They're much happier when they have a job, just like dogs, just like people, much happier when they have a job. So sage, especially this one variety of sage that I really like, it's called Mexican bush sage, Salvia leucantha, it's big and blousy and gorgeous, and it's softer than lamb's ears. The branches themselves I'm in zone 7, will get 2 or 3 feet long, and then they get a 2-foot spike of white or purple flowers on them. That's also just as sweet and soft and lovely as the leaves themselves. So I love those for catching any stray jinxes, hexes, curses that are floating through the air trying to get to the house. So it's very protective, but it's doing it in a nurturing way. It's a defensive mechanism rather than an offensive mechanism. So sage is really lovely for protecting your home, but also protecting the communication and the nurturing understanding between the people in that house.
So many things in the kitchen. I was very amused to see I was looking for something to sprinkle around our tent before Pagan Pride Day so we could sell things. And you know what is a very good thing to go around to attract customers?
Mm-hmm.
Pumpkin spice.
Oh yes, absolutely. They're all prosperity.
Prosperity and love. So but you can get great big things for $1, and it's like, okay, yeah, we're just gonna sprinkle that around there. But it's like a pumpkin spice, really? Okay. But you said the magic word attack.
Yes.
Yes, because there's a lot of people out there who say, no, we are good witches. Are you a good witch or a bad witch?
I'm a great witch.
I'm a witch who knows what she's doing. And, and I liked Marsha Pickhand's comment on it because she also taught martial arts. And she said, the people, you can teach hexing. The people who want a quick and easy way, they're not going to put the work in anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll only get enough trouble to bounce back on themselves. and I liked that perspective, and I thought I'd bounce it off you. How do you feel about that?
It is so important. One of my very first high priestesses when I was a tiny person was of the school of thought that said, if you can't hex, you can't heal. Like, you have to know what it is, because whether or not you choose to do it, this is the same way that surgeons learn how to fix a problem, is by creating the problem. Okay, there's a hole in your body. Let's stitch it up. If I know how a hex was cast, I know how to diffuse it, how to take it apart in pieces and scatter them to the winds. So whether or not you choose to actively pursue hexes and curses is your own personal purview, but it's really important to teach and to learn how to do it, because that's what gives you the understanding of how it's done and how to diffuse those situations. I am absolutely of the school of thought that says that magic is the purview of people who are downtrodden, who may not have the ability to go to law enforcement, who may not have the ability to sue someone to get reparations for whatever wrong has been done to them. You have to give people the ability to take care of their own business. And that's where hexing comes from. That's where hexing comes in. There's a difference between hexes, curses, and jinxes that I'll talk about briefly. It's in the very beginning of protection magic. So jinxes are the little petty day-to-day petty things. So you accidentally cut someone off in traffic and they think, oh, she must have done it on purpose. You're a jerk. And so little bits of negativity get flung your way. That can manifest in spilling your coffee on yourself. You know, oh, I hit a bump and I spilled my coffee. It's just little inconveniences. We want to get rid of those just as much as we want to get rid of big cursy things. So the difference between a curse and a hex. A curse is you calling out to the gods and saying, so-and-so did me wrong. Please make it right. They did this awful thing, and I need your intervention to make this right. A hex is the opposite. It says, this person did this thing and I'm going to handle it because you didn't. So mediating those will look a little bit differently. If I were trying to mediate a curse, I might explain to the gods why that's totally not what happened. And you can diffuse it that way, just like you were going before a judge. The judge in this case just happens to be immense and immortal and numinous.
What's so numinous?
Do you also work with various other? I know some people work with angels, but work with gods, angels, ancestors. Do you work with other? You call in bodyguards, I guess, is what I'm asking.
I absolutely do. Absolutely do. I was really concerned about that as a younger person. I worked really hard to dissociate myself from a Christian upbringing. And then I remembered that these spirits are bigger than the idea of religion itself. And if they're willing to help me, I'm willing to talk to them. I'm willing to reach out and look for it. The same with saints. My mother was raised Catholic. I was not. So I never had any interest in working with saints until I found little habits that my mom had. Like if, she lost her car keys, she'd ask St. Anthony to help her find her car keys. Little things that we grow up taking for granted because they're so everyday. They're so commonplace. It doesn't feel like it's extra. It doesn't feel like it's outside. So I talked to, of all people, Miss Judika Isles. She has the Encyclopedia of Spirits and talks about a number of saints who are willing to help and reach out and work with you. She said, because if they're going to help a Jewish witch, of course they're going to help somebody, they're going to help Susie Pagan down the street. She really thought that it was really gotten to the point where, okay, they're willing to help anybody. It's not about Christianity. It's about the intercession. It's about that energetic understanding.
And I know we started late, but I see we're running long, and I would go on for a long time, but I don't want to take advantage.
But that's don't get us started because we'd be here all night. So we just decide, okay, we are going to discipline ourselves and say, that's enough. So, yeah.
Okay, but this is our last chance to get a few things. Have you worked with the Lenormand cards yet? Because there's great symbols on them.
They're so great, and the neat thing about them, especially when you're talking Lenormand, you're talking about specifically tarot. Those energies, you're not just looking at the idea of a symbol. Every time you pick up one of those cards, it's a lineage of every person who has worked with those cards, who has developed their own energies and their own associations and their understandings of those cards, standing in a line behind you. So that is a really powerful lineage of people who is standing there waiting to lend their energies to the magic that you're doing. And so it's not that at that point, it's not just the thought form of the egregor of the fool. It's every person who is standing in a line behind you, lending their, I'm getting goosebumps, standing in a line behind you, talking about the energy that they're putting towards your being protected from injury, that you're reversing a hex. You have a long, strong lineage standing behind you, willing to take and make and sacrifice to make sure that your idea, your spell, your thought form is ready to move to that next step.
Yeah, I just liked how, well, at least for Westerners, they're so you don't need to learn the esoteric meanings like you do with the tarot. You've got a snake, you've got a fox, you've got an anchor, you've got a key, you've got a letter. Everybody understands those, and
Absolutely.
and I love that aspect of the Lenormand. And
It's not just intuitive at that point. It's cultural.
yes, it's that
visceral.
what you were just saying about the egregore. So anyway, I am not seeing any raised hands or anything. But I hate
We
to
could just
let you
keep
go, but
listening.
I don't want to take horrible advantage. This has been so much fun. We do want to have you back. And I hope you'll be able to come up to Changing Time, the conference. And if not, then, 3 cheers for the internet, which allows us to get a taste of Amy in the night.
That's a new perfume. That's it.
Yeah, well, I was actually paraphrasing Shakespeare, but I'll take it.
that could be horticultural, new perfume.
Is there a link to Amy's books?
Yeah, Blackthorne's Botanicals.
post-
Absolutely.
I didn't put those on. Oh shoot. Let's see.
Blackthorne's Botanicals.
.com, yes. AmyBlackthorne.com will give you a tasting menu of my individual books. The first 30 to 50 pages are available for free for downloading at AmyBlackthorne.com. So you can,
Nice.
I want you to know that you want this book when you go and buy it. I want you to know that
Well,
my
and
voice
that's-
is the one you want in your ear.
And that's smart marketing too.
Thank you
I'm
so
more
much.
likely to get hooked on a book that way.
She was so smart. I hadn't thought about it down at Sacred Space. It's like some of you have flown, and there's a weight limit. So I will mail you. I will mail you the books later if you can't buy the books now to take them home. It's like, she's right. I was about to go up and I was like, and I'm not. If carrying a suitcase full of books is one thing. Far better to go.
I started doing that after Sacred Space in 2019 because I went through the hall and I bought every book I could find. I actually had to mail home my clothes so I could carry my precious books.
I think a lot of us relate to that. But yeah, anyway, yes, the book, and so anyway, so thank you so much, everybody.
Absolutely.
Just so put your thoughts toward making everything work so we can get more Amy coming here. Do get her books. She's there's just so much in there. I mean, you heard her just talk for an hour, and my goodness, how much was that? And then you get
yeah, that was awesome.
get a whole bunch more books. There's always another book. Good.
Yep. Right now I'm writing a sequel to Botanical Magic, so we're working
goody.
with the spirits of those plants. The book after that is a really deep dive into understanding shadow work and how we can help work with the botanical spirits and our botanical allies to process things like trauma, and help move through them to live more comfortable, stable, emotionally supported lives.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we
Right.
should have one on gardening, because what do you feel is important in your garden? Did you know that the angelica plant, they actually, in the Viking period, if you stole somebody's angelica plant from their garden, that you get the death penalty for it?
I have heard that.
That seemed a little severe to me.
Do you know why though?
No.
Because it was so healthful and so beneficial. There was a friar monk who dreamed one day that the plague could be cured by angelica, and so he went and he prepared it, and it worked. So it was not just a pretty plant; it was life-saving medicine. So and not only could it hex, it could heal. Not could heal, it could hex. Angelica is phototoxic, so if you smeared it on someone who had wronged you, they'd get chemical burns.
Oh
wow.
Hey, that sounds like fun.
That's a good trick.
Well,
So it's
I like this
protective and
added-
it's healing.
I'm
I like
melting.
I don't know.
I-
Some of the people here may have heard this story before, but I think you'd be interested. When I went to Kauai once, I had gone to a museum and I saw that there was a very traditionally healing plant, but it was endangered. And I was then after that, I went out to a park and I saw the plant. Nobody was around, so I sat down, went into a light trance, like you do, and talked to it. And I said, "Gee, I really want to apologize for I'm sorry that you are you're over harvested and you're endangered now." And the plant said to me, "It's okay, we're going to be fine." And I said, "Oh, but I understand." It's like, no, we're just not going to be medicinal for a couple generations. Like, what? You can do that? Well, that's what the plant told me. And he said that we're really sorry that we have to do this, but we have to protect ourselves. Very idea that our plant allies are, I mean, I knew they were allies. I knew they were helping us on purpose, but the very idea that, at least from what I could, this is UPG, this is me. It may be me needing my medications adjusted or something, but I believe what I hear when I talk to plants. And that was just a big revelation to me. And I thought you might be interested in it.
Absolutely.
Because, okay, we as the all plant, we're going to stop being medicinal. But you know what? I bet you individuals would would be medicinal for individual people if just to be a favor. We're going to sneak that one in there.
And this would certainly explain why when people are looking at information about these plants and what they do, it can't always be proven.
Exactly.
Right.
But look at
how
crazy people were going about St. John's wort in the 80s, and everybody was saying, "Oh, this is the thing. This is going to cure depression." And then 20 years later, they say, after there's tons and tons of product out there, they say, "Oh, no, we did the tests. They must have done the tests wrong in the 80s because we can't find that it works." Yeah. It's like, or maybe the plants are pissed that you're trying to make money off of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
on the topic of books, I just wanted to mention something, a quote from the scholar Erasmus. "When I get a little money, I buy books. If there's any left, I get food and pay my rent." And I said, now there's a kindred spirit.
That's been at the top
but
of my
that was a wonderful presentation, Amy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I look forward to you being able to join us again someday.
Thank you so much.
Because the topic